I just wanted to, as you were saying that, is this information sort of kept, I understand this is like transmission to the country of arrival, but is there some kind of centralized database of all of these travel documents? And if so, who would maintain them? And would you see a benefit of having that, or a privacy problem in having it? Or is it just, how long does this data exist, and is it ever purged? What happens to it?
Well, I can address that question in part that certainly the International Civil Aviation Organization does not maintain a database of passport holders. What the organization does have is an arrangement called the Public Key Directory, which is a public key infrastructure enabled way of validating passports that have a chip in them, validating that they have been appropriately issued and belong to the individual who holds them. That is a system that ICAO administers on behalf of states, but it does not involve the storage of data on individuals. It involves transmission of coded information about the passport itself.
Yeah, I can supplement just by saying that API information is transmitted to serve a purpose, and the purpose is to process a traveler through the various verifications that happen, or the matching that is done with the information, the API information that's received, and the person is processed. Once that is done, the information, for all intents and purposes, is not useful anymore. With the exception, of course, where you have individuals that are of interest to law enforcement, or that they represent a certain risk, then that information becomes very relevant for any follow-up law enforcement work or additional scrutiny that individual needs to undergo.
But I get just one follow-up. It seems like, first of all, can countries other than the country of arrival have access to this information? And I guess just, do you have any assurance, if I were a country and I were getting this information, server space is unlimited. It makes no sense to get rid of it. I'm just wondering, is there kind of a best practice? Do you think, is it given to the immigration authorities? Who gets the transmission of the API information? And what do you think happens to it after it goes there? Do you think that they delete it?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
Well, I mean, it's a reasonable wondering. It's quite reasonable. The transmission of information, many countries have a focal point, if you will, for receiving this information. And we keep working with states so they can look at coordinating, if you will, the frontline authorities, immigration, customs, and others, police, and so on, in order to coordinate, if you will, their activities. One point of receipt for this information, then it's analyzed and looked at for the various purposes. There are guidelines, and the guidelines follow domestic laws, domestic provisions that also must comply with international standards on obtaining and processing the information in a lawful way to start with, but certainly in a fair way, to be stored for legitimate purposes only. So the purpose here is to analyze the risk that a certain individual represents. If no risk, what's the point of keeping it? So we work on, and there are other related issues. So countries, and we work with countries to ensure that they follow this kind of process. In addition, there are mechanisms for oversight that countries, again, pursuant to national law, pursuant to international standards, have to have in place. If my information is being kept for longer than normal, if it's being abused, then there's an agency, well, you know the rest of it.
Right, I'm only asking because of the NSA and metadata. I mean, it just seems like, was CTED aware of the U.S. metadata programs, what were being done with data here?
It's a bigger question
Yeah,
than what we're looking at, so
All right.
I shouldn't comment
Okay.
on that. All right,
We'll have another chance.
Yeah,
All right.
probably. Thank you.